What's up, guys and gals? Colin Stuckert here. Wild Foods and the AncestralMind.com founder. I got 5 things wrong with our world today. There's obviously a lot more than 5, but these are 5 that are going to come to mind that I've been thinking about lately. Let's get to it. So the first problem with society is our inability to get off of our phones. How often do you go to dinner or lunch or breakfast or whatever with friends and family, and everybody has their phone face up on the table, or at multiple times is checking it, looking at it? You see notifications pop up and they're listening to you, and then, like that. Cool, close that, It's a joke. It's damaging psychologically. I'm not gonna get into why this is so damaging to the human mind, why these little dopamine hits are literally the newest drug that we have the most abused and used drug that we now have in our society is the freaking phone. I'm not gonna get into how it ruins relationships, how it deprives you of connections, how it holds you back in every way. I'm just gonna say, you gotta stop doing it. You gotta put your phone away. They've even done research that shows that the phone just being face up on the table immediately keeps you distracted, because you just you know it's there. You know that it might send you a notification. You wonder who's texting you or what's going on in the world or what's going on Instagram or whatever. Be in the now, be in the moment, and be with the people around you. You're going to have a better life as a result. That's the number one thing today. One of the big problems I see with our society, and I don't think we know what's gonna happen in the future. I think it's just gonna probably get worse and worse, and we're gonna have to try to do some things to mitigate it. Be one of those people that is interested, blocks eyes, that listens. It'll improve every aspect of your life. Business, relationships, sales, everything. The number 2 issue that we have in our world today is also a byproduct of technology. If you want to be successful, you have to be able to focus. And that means locking yourself in a room or somewhere that's quiet, that you can focus, and turning off notifications. Putting your phone in airplane mode, being unreachable. And then singularly focusing on doing one thing or a couple things in order until they're done as best as you can. This is called deep work. Cal Newport wrote a book about it. And he basically talks about how it's needed more now than ever, how you can actually work way less and get more done. And because it's not just about hours, right? Most people put in 8 hours a day and they're literally distracted the whole time. And some of them might not even get 30 minutes of deep work an entire day. And Cal talks about in his book how that deep work time is where your creative work, you hear flow a lot, kind of when you're in a flow state, whether that's writing, editing, building, doing things like that. You can only get your best work done when you don't have distractions. And so finding a deep work ritual and lack of a deep work ritual is the number one reason why most people won't be successful and why people will spend a lot of time and get very little done. You can actually flip it on its head. You can actually work less hours in a day, but more focused and directed work, and then take the rest of the day off. And it doesn't matter if you have a job or not. If you're a knowledge worker, you can use this to your advantage. Even if you have a job, you go to your boss and simply say, if I get my work done, if I get what you want me to get done, or my quotas or whatever, can I then set my own schedule and work from wherever I want? And then you basically go home after you do your work and just do whatever you want, live your life. It's all about results and output. We live in a data-driven society. The workplace is data-driven. It's not about whether managers see you or whatever. It's about getting the thing that needs to get done. You get that done, you get your pay. You can convince almost any boss, any employer, that if you can get your stuff done that you're hired for, that you can then set your own schedule, work from wherever you want, etc. It's amazing. The flip side is, if you want to be successful moving into the future, especially as we get AI and automation, all these things, you have to be able to focus. You have to be able to do deep work. That's going to be your greatest asset moving forward into our new world economy. The other issue, again, comes from technology, surprisingly, but it's this desire with wanting to be famous. Kids grow up thinking they want to be a YouTuber, Instagram star, and they think that having a lot of likes or followers is the goal. Now, there's a confusion with confusing fame with a business or with making money, and they're not equal at all. Like, some influencers have been able to turn their brand into a business, but I've literally seen people with 400,000 followers, and I know from the inner workings that they're making no money with that. Most people would think if they had 400,000 followers on Instagram, they'd be making lots of money, and this person was making none. Being famous is one thing, and for most people, it's not really a good pursuit. Like, it's just going to mess with your head, and you're not actually going to be happy as a result. It's going to be a never-ending pit of unsatisfaction, right? And having a business is another. Now, the dichotomy here is like, you can actually build a business and use social or on social even with a very small following, as long as that following is very engaged. But again, that's a topic for another day. That's not really the point. The point is our society's obsession with external validation. We want to be famous. We want likes. We want comments. We want followers. We focus on the numbers. Like, how well did this picture do? Did it not get a lot of likes or comments? I'm going to delete and post a new one. And like the kind of psychological runaround that we do to appease those kind of, it's just nonsense, really. And it messes with our head. So that is a really big problem that I see with the younger generation especially. The older generation doesn't have this as much because they didn't grow up with it. But if you're obsessing over your likes and your comments and your numbers, just know that you are trading something in response. You're trading a little bit of happiness, maybe a lot of happiness. You're trading maybe your direction even. Maybe you're going in the wrong direction, focusing on the wrong things. And as a result, your business or your goals or your dreams or whatever are kind of on the back seat, and you don't even really realize it. Because a lot of people confuse, again, they confuse fame for success, or they confuse fame and external validation for being happy. And they are not the same thing at all. Another really big issue I see in today's world, and you see it in politics, policy that's done. You see it on social media, obviously, and a lot of it has to do with research. Now, you have vaccine movement, the anti-vax movement, and pro-vaccine. You have nutrition, and whether high carb is good, bad, whether plant-based is good or bad, whether animals are good or bad. And you have, obviously exercise, there's research done with that. The thing that's the problem on all sides is research, and let's just take nutrition research, for example, or human-based research, which is a lot of what the research is usually centered around. Well, a lot of times these are epidemiological studies, which means they go and they poll people, or they give them surveys, or they go to a region and they observe people even, and then they basically make inferences and statements saying, oh, well, if all these people in this region only eat meat like twice a week, therefore, and they're healthier, it's better to eat meat twice a week or not at all, or whatever. Like, this is literally how a lot of research is done, and people then take what is a hypothesis, what is a possible, right, correlation. A lot of research is correlation-based or observational. And that's even if the research is done well. A lot of other research is biased. It's funded by corporations that basically want to fund whatever outcome they want so they can use it for their marketing or whatever. In fact, like the majority of research, I bet you if you did the numbers, the majority, meaning at least 51% or more research is done by corporations, right? It's funded by corporations. So let that sink in a little bit, right? All the food industries are in with scientists and fund a lot of the research done by a lot of scientists. So keep that in mind when you want to cite either a study that was done or a lack of a study that was done, or if we're missing a study, as if like, because there isn't a study that exists, then therefore something either doesn't work or it's wrong. And that cannot be further from the truth. Science is ever evolving. Good science actually creates more questions than it does provide answers, right? The best scientists and researchers are naturally skeptical. Even no matter how much the data points to something, they still know that it doesn't prove causation, right? If I lock you in a cage, or I lock 100 humans in a cage, and then I feed you a certain amount of food on various schedules or whatever, I can probably prove causation with some things. In real life, we can't do that. So people go about their life and they have stress, which is something you can't quantify or control. You have, they smoke, they do drugs, they eat things they shouldn't, etc. And then they'll go and talk to the scientist and the researcher, and they'll fill out this questionnaire, basically answering things that either sounds good or that their memory has fooled them into thinking is the case. And then people call that science, and it's a joke. It's a literal joke. It shouldn't even be called science. Like, if anything, it should be called like very pseudo wannabe research or very lacking maybe based research. I don't know. It sucks. That should not be called research, yet it is. And this same type of research has been used to create policy that has affected millions and millions of people, especially in this country, right? You have the fat hypothesis, you have the ADA that recommends don't eat saturated fat, and you have all these things that have happened in the past 40, 50 years that have been a complete and utter scam. They've been a failure. We are fatter and sicker than ever, and people have been trying to watch their fat intake, right, and eat more carbs. Are you freaking kidding me? This is a big problem with our world today, and it keeps people stuck in their dogma. It keeps people stuck into, in fact, we'll do the last point, the last main problem that I see today that you can really see this in politics. Let's get onto that. Bias. We did a whole show on the Ancestral Mind about this. Go check it out in iTunes, The Ancestral Mind, or go to theancestralmind.com. You can find the show on cognitive bias. This is something that there's a lot of different bias. There's a lot of different ways this shows up in life. We are all biased, at least sometimes, right? A lot of us are biased all the time. And what What happens with bias in the human mind, and it's basically a failing of the human mind that served us when we lived in the wild, but today doesn't serve us because we live in this complex, information-based world that is a far cry from what it would have been like living in the wild. And so we run into a lot of problems. Now, I'm not going to give it a full treatment today, but I just want you to know that the number one thing that I see that's wrong with our political landscape or society, etc., is people succumbing to confirmation bias. They want to believe what they want to believe, so they look for information. They seek out or only see information that supports the things that they want to believe. This is confirmation bias 101. And then they ignore the information that conflicts with their beliefs. Now think about that a second. This is true for almost every human. We have information that will come in and it will conflict with what we believe. It will challenge our worldview. And what do most of us do? We immediately just discredit it, or we ignore it, or whatever. And a lot of times, research has actually proven that the more conflicting information we get, the more it solidifies our current belief system. Now that's pretty crazy, because if you have a whole load of information that is contrary to what you believe, you'd think that more and more information would help change your mind. But what they've seen is that people tend to dig in and they believe what they want to believe even more. And you can see all these fringe groups that believe these crazy things, like the Flat Earth group, which is like a growing movement of people that believe that the Earth is flat, or that space is like a scam, and that we've never been in space or to the moon or anything like that. Like, people actually believe this stuff. It's insane. And the internet allows this to happen because you can ignore the articles, the websites, the videos, whatever, that conflict with what you want to believe, and you can watch only the things that confirm. You can literally seek out the information. You can be a confirmation bias machine on a daily basis. So these guys and gals, these are just a few of the many things wrong with our world today. I don't usually like making videos that are negative in connotation. These are things that I want you to be aware of so you can get positivity out of it and you can get benefit out of your life. These are a lot of things that I find people fall into and that really screw them up. I mean, sometimes for years, sometimes for their entire lives. From a society, from a bigger view, we need to work through these things in our policy, in our government, in our politicians, the way we vote, etc. So being aware of them is going to definitely help us. But on the individual level, your daily life and how you make decisions and how these things affect your decisions, that's where I would really recommend you start. So get off your phone when you're with friends and family. Literally put it away, put it in airplane mode, put it in the other room so you can't hear it. Turn your notifications off. And that's everyday life. Notifications are poison. They're poison for their mind. You should turn them off always. Get a deep work routine. Every day, give yourself at least an hour, maybe 2, right? And focus on your biggest, baddest, most impactful thing that you can do for the day. If you do just this one thing, for most people, it'll change your life, okay? Be very wary of people that make bold claims and use science, right? Or studies as the mechanism for justifying or for refuting what other people say. Because the reality is science is a big fat maybe. Almost all science does not prove causation. Like, the majority of research does not prove causation. It provides maybe. I'll say it again, the majority of research, of science, all it gives you is a big fat maybe. This might be connected, but this does not say it is connected. It does not prove causation. So be very wary of this. Very, very wary of this. And then on the end, be self-aware. Watch your own bias. When things challenge you, when you feel that dissonance in your mind, when someone comes at you with something that challenges your belief system, take a moment and ask yourself, do they have a point? What does that look like? I don't have to change my mind, but I should at least be able to better understand the why behind my decision and be able to better justify my beliefs. And I get that if I can also challenge them. My name is Colin Stucker, and I approve this message. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And if you want me to cover some other videos or topics, whatever, let me know.